Hi, I just thought I'd do a short update video on the peak electronic meters. I mentioned in the review of the DCA 75, the DCA Pro, a couple of what I thought may be potential issues long term. The first one, or one of them, was the fact that the LCD is the LCD panel is just floating like that, and I thought it would be a much better idea just to put a bit of double-sided foam underneath just to hold it in place. I was bothered about potential dry joints developing over the years. Now, I've had a word with Jez Siddons at Peak Electronics, and he has said that they have never had an issue with dry joints developing over time, and the only failures they've ever had is when they switched over to lead-free some years ago, and when these joints here were not made correctly in the manufacturing process. They have never had dry joint issues long term. So it's probably unfounded, but I'll probably still do it. And the other reason that they said this is floating is there is obviously slight tolerance variation in the header that's used here, and also when this is back in the case, sometimes they've had people lean accidentally on the plastic front, and with that bit of movement the display can move away from that. So yeah, it doesn't seem that it's an issue after all. I'll probably still put a little bit of foam underneath it anyway. I just prefer it that way. I certainly don't intend to lean on it. There's quite a gap there. It probably varies on model to model, but yeah, apparently it has certainly not been an issue, and I think the manufacturing numbers were around the 90,000 units of all these different types produced over the years. So yeah, no dry joint issues there. The other thing I mentioned to Jez was the fact that we didn't think this was a brilliant idea, just soldering these three wires on just flat like that. If it seems more sensible to go through the board and solder them both sides. Now again, I thought if you had an accident with this and really tugged this, you're going to rip the pad off. But again, in 90,000 units, this has never been achieved by anybody. Apparently, Jez was saying, and it makes sense now I've thought about it, a lateral joint like we have here is actually far stronger than what would be a 90-degree bend in this cable and then soldered through. In fact, what he was saying was, if you look, I don't know whether this will focus, if you look, you can just see a little bit of solders come through the hole, and it's just flush with this other side. So in fact, if you think about it, there is a lot of strength in that direction, and the solder goes through the board. So in effect, you would have to pull so hard you would be ripping out the wire and the solder, which is going through 90 degrees and through that hole. So in fact, this is the stronger and better way to do it. A 90-degree kink in the wire does actually have a tendency to fatigue over time, where this doesn't. So yeah, I think in that case, it does seem to make sense, having been told that, and I will probably leave this well alone. You could apply a little bit of solder on this side just to make absolutely sure that it's gone through the hole, but if I hold this up, I think you can see that that is pretty much flush with the top of this side. So yeah, no particular issues there. I also mentioned to Jez about the failure, the apparent failure of the firmware to update correctly, and they have had that themselves. It's nothing to worry about. The cause is a timing issue with the Microsoft driver that's being used, and yeah, the DCA Pro cannot trash itself by installing the firmware incorrectly. It will either install it correctly or it just won't install it, and it will leave you with the prior version. So again, nothing to worry about. It's just probably an annoyance rather than anything else. I also mentioned about the problem that I'd had with Zener diodes. The specifications say you can read them up to 11 volts, but there is an overshoot in the DC to DC converter, so up to 12 volts Zeners will probably be fine. The problem with the higher wattage ones is just the power that the device can produce to measure them. So it's not going to happen. You will get a reading, but it's going to be slightly out compared to what the Zener really is. So not much use for my particular plans of back engineering some blown boards, but for most engineers it probably isn't going to be an issue. So yeah, that was it. I just wanted to do a quick update on those points, and yeah, I'll catch you later. Oh, if you're on the forum, I also am trying to arrange a discount on the DCA Pro. The trouble is they're selling so well at the moment that they can barely keep up with production. So whilst units are selling in those quantities, I think it's highly unlikely we're going to get any sort of discount, unfortunately. But if we do, I'll keep you updated on the forum. Thanks a lot. Catch you later.